Ladies and gentlemen, it's upon us. The final round of season 19 is here in PC Tier 5. And to take you through tonight's action, it's myself, Cock, as I'm alongside this evening, Max Ring. It's good to have both of our regular commentators back for the final round of the season here in Brazil.
Yeah, it certainly is. Hello again, everybody. After my brief 1 week hiatus up in Tier 2, I am back. And yeah, should be an exciting race ahead. Of course, last time out, Cockaz did crown the champion. Ariane Sanger is your Tier 5 champion, only finishing off the podium once this season. But back here again in Brazil now. And Cockaz, I'm looking forward to this one. It should be an exciting race. And how are you on this Monday evening?
Oh, I'm great as always. Even better for WOR action. I will be. Don't know what I'll be doing next week. Sitting in a corner crying, I think, is the solution. But yeah, at the moment, we're getting underway here in Tier 5, and we've got times coming down. It was raining at the start of the session. It appears to have eased off now, and times are coming down with David Martinez and Ironut. Tenacy, he's got his full name in there so we can address him properly. They're both in the 115s. Ariane Sanger just outside 116.1. Everybody else just a little bit off. Jake Dorser, the next driver, down with a 16.528. So it's a very, very interesting qualifying session to start off with, to be honest with you. Chrisu going in just in the high 116s. So I don't really understand how Martinez and Tenacy have that much of a gap over the rest of the field.
Yeah, it's just overall about Phil, and I think the rain has got heavier as this session has progressed. So Martinez and Tenacy might have been the first drivers out on the circuit, and that is why they've set such a good lap time. But of course, the more you drive a circuit, especially in these conditions, the quicker you go, the more you find the limits of the track. And of course, Tenacy and Martinez, we know, oh so fast in this tier, and are certainly going to look to try and get pole position once again. But yeah, a whole 3/10 buffer, sorry, very good to have at the start of a wet qualifying session. Of course, we're now about halfway through, so we'll see drivers coming into the pits to put on another set of the intermediates. But you do about 3 or 4 runs on this tyre, putting enough fuel for about 3-4 laps. That's including cool down laps as well, so you do about 6 laps in total. So it's going to be interesting to see how the drivers face this intermediate qualifying. I think it's our first wet qualifying of the season, and for Martinez, so far so good. He's currently in the pit lane, but Tenacy is on a lap as he's heading through the middle sector.
Yeah, and at the moment he is only just improving by 0.003 of a second. He needs to improve by 0.08 or more if he's going to overtake his Aston Martin rival at the moment. And he needs to find a lot of time in this final sector. Pau Villegas coming in. His first time lap of the session is a 16.0, so he slots himself into third place. Ironut has found a 10th in that second sector. So if he keeps this lap together, will be taking that provisional pole position. He's got 2 more corners to go, but it's pretty much flat out. But he's going to come into the pits. Ironut not happy with that lap. And so he comes in. He gets set to try again. Ariane Sanger, the next man we're going to watch on board with. He is 0.3 up in the first sector. So we will see where the Haasman goes as this Kick-Sauber moves out of the way. Sanger has improved by 0.8. This is going to be an unbelievable lap if he's able to hook it up in the final sector. Ironut struggled for traction out of the final corner. Decided that lap was not good enough in comparison to what he would have wanted it to be. But Ariane Sanger is going to come across the line this time, and he's going to be the first, almost the first driver into the 114s. 115.393. He is 0.4 ahead of David Martinez in second place, and the champion really proving why he is the champion.
Yeah, he certainly is. Just like we've seen so far this season, especially at this midpoint in qualifying, Sanger just pulls out a lap of all laps. And it really does set him up well for the main Grand Prix. Gets out the way of a Kick-Sauber nicely. Who is next to be crossing the line, to be finishing a lap? This is where things get a bit more tricky, as drivers, of course, are going to be on cooldown laps and push laps at the same time. And it's not really going to be the most representative of where they are on the circuit. McTeer is currently backing off. So is Danko. I think the next driver to be second a lap is the man currently on that provisional front row. It is David Martinez heading through turn 3 now. So the Aston Martin driver then heading down the retro poster into turn 4. We'll see what he's going to be able to do. But he's actually not improving. He's actually backed off for this one, maybe doing 2 push warm-up laps to get those tyres into an optimum window and then going for 1 quick push lap. So it seems a lot of these drivers struggling maybe with the first sector as well. I've seen a lot of them start to back out after the center S's. So this really is going to be a session where you've got to hook up the first 2 corners if you want any chance of setting a successful lap.
Yeah, the first S is so crucial for every driver coming through them. And, well, I mean, there's quite a few S's, but they just seem to be the most significant ones. It's there, and then in Sector 2, which pretty much is just an entire sector of S's, where the drivers just seem to sometimes struggle to put down the traction, especially in the intermediate conditions, where it's just about too slippery for you to drive like it's dry. But if you're driving like it's wet, you're not going quick enough. Watching on board with Dallin McTeer, he is 2/10 up on his time. He is improving as he heads out of the final corner. Huge issues with traction on the exit, and he's using all of that ERS to full effect as he comes round to the final corner, comes across the line, and Dallin McTeer is going to set a lap time of a 16.0. So 4th place is where he goes. Martinez, Tanasi, and Ariane Sanger just making this look like a completely different track at the moment.
Yeah, certainly is. Sanger is really flying out in front. He's 300ths up now in the middle sector. So we're going to see an even bigger improvement. Are we even potentially going to see him into the point 2s? No. He does elect to come in to the pit lane, slams on the anchors, and he'll put on a fresh set of intermediates. If that's what he can do on 6-lap-old intermediates and still improve, there is surely so much more time left in this lap. David Martinez, what is he doing as he's now heading through the middle sector in his Aston Martin? So as he comes across sector to split, he's up by 0.3 of a second. So this will put him into those 0.5s, maybe even the 0.4s. I didn't see how much Tanasi was up by, but Martinez now heading through the final few corners. So he keeps a tight line up to the start-finish line. What's it going to be for David Martinez? He crosses the line. He does find enough time to go quickest. He goes into the 0.3s. Here comes Tanasi. He just can't get close enough. He's only improved by 1/10 of a second. But Martinez instantly throwing a heavyweight blow back into Ariane Sanger's direction. And it landed successfully. He is now back on provisional pole.
Exactly. The shot was played, and it was easily countered by David Martinez at the moment, who has improved by a lot of time. It does appear as though the track is improving, but lots of drivers not making it seem like that. Christoph Godor, only the 4th man into the 15.9s, but obviously David Martinez and Ariane Sanger so much quicker than the rest of the field. Pau Villegas, I believe, is going to be the next driver to dive into the 115s. He's 5/10 up through the first couple of sectors, and the Williams man is just heading out now of the final corner, and it's going to be a 15.366. 3rd place as Dinilescu becomes the 5th man, 6th man now even, into the 15s. So yeah, times are coming down, but still Martinez and Sanger, and maybe even Pau Villegas now, with just the pace advantage over the rest of the field.
Yeah, they really are. I mean, this circuit is just going to constantly keep getting better and better as cars go around it. The dry line will just start to form more and more. And this is where we get to see how good these drivers really are in these adaptable and crazy mixed conditions. So, Sanger is out on his out lap. Christoph Godor has invalidated his next attempt. Redmere could be on a lap. Yes, he is. He's up by 1/10 in the first sector. What's it going to be in the middle sector now? Oh, he's down by 6.1 seconds, so he did abort lap 1. Danko just starting a lap, but I think if we have to go on board with anyone for a lap, it's the man that was on provisional pole for about 5 minutes in this qualifying session, about to start his final few laps of the session. Ariane Sanger, he is the man to keep an eye on. Of course, the champion-elect. We'll see what he's able to do, and can he take pole position in the final round of the season.
Yeah, heading into turn number 1 now, you want to take a really, really tight line, but keeping the traction on, as Ariane Sanger's done so pretty successfully there, and then running deep into the curb, out of the exit of the S is now down to Desida de Lago. This will be the first DRS zone if we are running in dry conditions in the race. Ariane Sanger not improving on his lap, he's actually down by a significant margin. So I think maybe he's going to back out of this lap and go once again with 1 minute 55 left in the session. We saw what he could do on 6-lap-old intermediate tyres, and yeah, indeed, he does back out of this lap. Robert Dinilescu is just about not improving once again. It's 0.021 is his deficit to his first lap. And, well, I mean, he's got to find 3/10 somewhere. If he's even going to challenge for this pole position, 3.5 will take him just behind David Martinez. Coming up now through the second sector. Got to make sure you keep on the traction as much as you can. Keep in that dry line. You can see that dry line. It's very, very visible on the circuit. And coming up to the second sector split time now. Has he improved? It's going to be still not an improvement for Robert Dinilescu. Down by almost a 10th. And I believe this RB, unless he can find a lot of time in that final sector, will be starting from a peak of 4th place. You wouldn't think that he's going to have enough time to go again. And Dinilescu up to the line with a 15.7. It is not an improvement from him, Ironut. His teammate is improving, allegedly purple in the second sector. 4/10 up as he heads out of the final corner. Looking like a little bit of a wobble on the exit. So he won't be particularly happy with that. But with the rest of the lap, he can be pretty chuffed with. Up to the line, what can Ironut do? Is he going to take provisional pole? No, he's not. He's in 4th place. He's only jumped his teammate Dinilescu as David Martinez and Pau Villegas have both just started laps. Ariane Sanger will switch back to the champion of this season. He's heading through Sector 2. Once again, a minimal improvement in the first sector. And I think he is going to be the most likely man to stick it on that pole position unless Martinez and Villegas, the 2 Spaniards, can do something on this final run. Ariane Sanger improving 2.5 in the first 2 sectors. But we've seen laps go to pot as the checkered flag is waved. We've seen laps ruined in this final sector. Ariane Sanger, what can he do as he comes up to the line? Using everything to try and get this pole position back. And he's snatched it back. It's in the grasp of the Haas. And he's improved by 2/10 to move up into first place. David Martinez won't improve on his lap. Pau Villegas is the next man with an opportunity. 2/10 is what he's improving by. If he finds 0.05 of a second, this is pole position heading the Williams' way, which would be a complete U-turn on how it was going earlier on in the session. He wasn't even able to set a valid first lap until the middle of the session, but Pau Villegas will not find that time. He's lost time in that final sector, and so he will be starting from second place. Dalla McTeer, the next man across the line, he's improving. Oh, they're all improving, but the McLaren is going to try to find his way into the front row of the grid. Is he able to do so? No. He stays in 6th as the checkered flag is waved for pretty much everybody now. It's only Darkson Ace who's still got to go. He's 21 seconds down on his lap, and Ariane Sanger secures that pole position.
What a lap time there from Ariane Sanger and Pau Villegas in just narrowly missing out on a pole position for the final round of the season. But Sanger, the man who has won the championship, the champion-elect, again, just unstoppable. He is just a force to be reckoned with. And here in Tier 5, the story continues. That's his 5th pole position of the season. Can he make it a 5th race win of the season? Of course, the only double winner this season is Ariane Sanger. He's the only driver to score podiums at nearly every race but at Canada. But we'll see now what he is able to do from the front row of the grid around Brazil. Of course, this circuit, where, like we've seen at the likes of Singapore, it is a circuit where you can break away from the rest of the field, especially in that middle sector. Very easy to just drop the rest of the pack. So if Ariane Sanger is able to convert this quali pace into race pace, we certainly could see him take the top step of the podium for the final time this season. And it's all going to come down to this. Elbows will be out. Of course, it's the final round of the season. And it's all to play for, because now it's just all personal glory. No worries about the championship. Everybody will be fighting tooth and nail for this final race victory of the season.
Exactly. Pride is what's at stake for the final round of this season. And Ariane Sanger demonstrating why he is the champion with a 1:15.116, taking pole position by 0.07 of a second ahead of Pau Villegas, and then 2 whole tenths back to David Martinez. Then looking down the rest of the grid, Ironut Tanasi and Robert Dinilescu in 4th and 5th, and then in 6th and 7th you've got Dalla McTeer and Mouchoir. Then it's the 2 Ferraris in 8th and 9th, and Redmers in 10th. Timon Voss will take P11 with Giovanni Baruzza in P12. Docs and Ace in P13. Jake Dorser in 14th. Danko in 15th. David Siki in 16th. And Chrisu with an uncharacteristically slow qualifying lap with a 1:16.975. We will now have an intermission as we have a lobby restart. So don't go away. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. And you've come back at an almost perfect time. We're about 10 seconds away from us getting back into the lobby, from the drivers picking their setups, and from the drivers getting on to the grid. Obviously, no formation lap. So once we're loaded into the lobby, that is it. We are ready to go racing whenever the drivers get ready themselves. But it's looking like it's going to be a pretty decent race. Obviously, Ariane Sanger taking that pole position home to the Haas outfit. But a couple of the drivers looking like they're able to challenge him tonight.
Yeah, especially the likes of David Martinez and Paul Villegas. They're two drivers that really can throw a fight at Ariane Sanger this evening. So it's going to be interesting to see how they take this one. Is it going to be raining heading into the race? Just going to see that now. No, we have completely different conditions to what we saw in qualifying. It is a dry race after a wet qualifying. It should be interesting to see this evening. Of course, the drivers not having that quali pace, not getting all too used to those dry conditions in that qualifying. They'll be used to those wet conditions, so it'll take a lot of time to adapt. So give them a few laps and they'll be right back on the pace. But interesting to see what strategies are going to be created this evening. Of course, 36 laps of the Jose Carlos Pache circuit, and it's going to be very, very interesting indeed. Tyre wear not too high actually around this circuit, among contrary belief, as a hard medium could work. Maybe even someone going for a hard soft could potentially be possible, but it's going to be interesting here tonight, Kotkaz, and the big factor for this evening's Grand Prix is to keep away from those track limit penalties.
Absolutely, I think they're going to be playing into it so crucially, because I think, to be fair here, strategy doesn't really matter that much. I mean, I can go from soft to hard in about, in a very quick time. So I think it's very easy to just miss out on the strategy and still be okay, because obviously, as you mentioned, those track limit penalties, incidents that could happen on this circuit, because it's very easy to spin out. But hey, you never know. We could be seeing somebody from the back of the grid come to the front. It's been done before, Lewis Hamilton. And we're going to go to the 5 red lights for the Brazilian Grand Prix. It's lights. And it's action. A very long hold before we got underway here in Brazil. Ariane Sanger off to a strong start. Pau Villegas could be coming under pressure into turn number 1 by David Martinez. But Martinez just going around the outside line was not enough for him, and he has to drop back. Ironut Tenacey as well dropping back. There's moves being made, as I believe that is either Christoph Goda or Redmer's leaving the session. They're ghosted inside each other. Quite a bit of lag as we head down to Descida del Lago. And most of the drivers following in formation, apart from Chrisu and Giovanni Baruzza. That is Chrisu from the back of the field, making a move on the McLaren. The other McLaren, Dalek McTeer, dropping all the way down to P17 from P6 on the grid. So something has gone wrong there for him. Chrisu trying to go down the inside of time, and Voss, he ghosts, but what a good start it has been for Chrisu and for Ariane Sanger, who's built now a 3/10 gap ahead of the rest of the field.
Yeah, dream start there for Ariane Sanger. Of course, the top 4 now all on the hard compounded tyres. Dabatsiki versus Chrisu as they're now heading up into turn 11 of Yun Sao. Who's going to come out on top here? It does seem that Dabatsiki will just have the drive out the corner, and Chrisu on the outside line with no choice but to back out. Dallin McTeer past Danko, Darks and Nace getting past Redmere in the Mercedes as Yanni Alexandrov on those soft compounded tyres, making them work to good use, nearly getting past both Ironut Tenacey and David Martinez, only able to get past Tenacey, but DRS now open for the Ferrari. Here comes Tenacey on that right-hand side. He's going to try hold this one round the outside. Sandrov giving him a big old squeeze to that outside line and in to the Sino de Lago. Yanni Alexandrov able to hold on to that 4th place for now as we head into turns 6 and 7. It's been a dream getaway from Ariane Sanger, but he's not been able to break that DRS, which is going to be so crucial, especially at the top of this circuit down the main straight where so many moves could be made. And for Ironut, he's now just going to slot in behind the Scuderia Ferrari and try use Sandro for somewhat of a battering ram to move drivers out the way, follow him through and see what he's able to do for the remainder of this Grand Prix.
Yeah, and then wait for his tyres to drop off. Those softs won't last very long around here, as everybody else has gone for the mediums or the hard compounder tyre. But Yanni Alexandrov, we talk about drivers having nothing to lose. And Yanni Alexandrov, well, he's driven all 10 rounds of this season like he's got nothing to lose. And, this weekend, he could be pulling that off a little bit more as he heads now through to the second straight, a DRS straight, as he's able to close into David Martinez. Tanasi will be coming under more pressure from Mouchoir behind. But at the moment, Yanni Alexandrov looking the quickest man on this field. Fights going on behind him, though, as Mouchoir tries to pull to the outside of Ironut. Backs out, and the RB and the kick will follow through in formation. But it's the other Ferrari and the other V-Carb who are going for a fight. Christoph Godor and Dinilescu. Godor around the outside. It switches to the inside line, and it's just enough for Godor to pull off. And he moves up into P7. Chrisu continuing his fight up the field. David Siki tried to fight him back as he was fighting Timon Voss, and now he feels as though he has to make that move unless David Siki has anything to say about it. He looked to the inside, backing out of it, but it's getting very feisty between 12th and 14th at the moment. Dogs and Ace past Dinilescu. Yanni Alexandrov makes another move up the field. He's ahead of David Martinez, and he will look, after taking the fastest lap, for maybe even that race lead.
Yeah, he certainly could try and take that race lead away. Pau Villegas now getting closer and closer to the back of Ariane Sainsbury. Head into the scene of Delago. Not going to go for the move. Is anyone going to chink out to the left-hand side, to the inside, further back the field? Yes, we do see Dallin McTeer versus Danko, and they've already dropped 1.9 seconds off the back of the field, so it's been a horrid start for Dallin McTeer and Danko in this Grand Prix. They are nowhere near where they would want to be, and Chrisu and Simon Voss squabbling once again, heading through the middle sector. Chrisu with a send to the inside through turn 8, round the outside through turn 9, picks Simon Voss off very, very nicely. David Siki now into the back of Simon Voss as well. That is a little bit of controversy already in this Grand Prix. Siki just driving through Simon Voss, not going for any specific lunge, and unfortunately for Voss, he loses 2 places in the span of 2 corners. We now see David Martinez further up all over the back of Yanni Alexandrov. Here comes Pau Villegas as well on Ariane Sanger, and David Martinez now to the outside of the Ferrari driver. Is he going to be able to pull this one off? And Sandrov Martinez squeezed into turn 2 of the center S's, heading through turn 3 now. He's on the outside line, DRS open. Here comes Tanasi as well, who might get a pair of them. He has the battery advantage. He's looking to the right-hand side. Unfortunately, forced onto the grass. Sandrov stays in front. It's a yellow flag for Siki further back, who has spun and dropped down the field. But brilliant racing from Tanasi, Sandrov, and David Martinez. Tanasi to the inside once again into 6 and 7, not able to put it off. Is he going to look once more into turn 8? No, Moose Wires. He's looking to the inside into turn 8. Now around the outside through turn 9. We saw Chrisu try to pull this one off the last time around. Not able to do it this time though, as Mouchoir, and he's under pressure from Christoph Godor behind as well. It's all kicking off here between for this top 3 spot, and we'll see who's going to come out on top. But Ariane Sanger looking to repay the favour to Pau Villegas. He's all over the back of him as we head down into turn 1.
Yeah, this is what happens when you're racing with no pressure on you. It could just get very, very interesting as Duxon Ace makes his way past Christoph Godor. Ariane Sanger makes his way past Pau Villegas, and he now leads this Brazilian Grand Prix on lap 6 of 36. There is fights down the field as Robert Dinilescu is feeling the effects of being on those hards in a field of mediums. He's now seen drivers go through him as David Siki retires from the pits. He will take no further part in this session. That's disappointing from him in the final round of it. I mean, Timon Voss, Giovanni Brutzer, Dallin McTeer and Danko all dropping off the back of the field. Dallin McTeer especially, he'll be incredibly disappointed after qualifying in 6th place. He's made his way back up to P15, courtesy of making a move past Danko and David Siki retiring, but still a very disappointing weekend. Redmers, I believe, I don't know whether he's in the session or not. He keeps ghosting in and out. He keeps flickering, well, he's sitting in P12, so I think he's able to take some control of that car. But someone who might be losing control of his car in the next couple of laps, he might be losing grip already is Yanni Alexandrov. 5 laps on those softs. Could be just about too long, and Iron Tanasi will be trying to pressure him as they head into turn number 1 now. He'll have the DRS. They both do, but Yanni Alexandrov does not have that slipstream. Dark Tanasi right behind them. Makes move past Mouchoir, and Tanasi still sits behind Yanni Alexandrov. Not making that move into turn number 1, but is he going to make it into Decina de Largo as they come out of the center S's, opening up that DRS? The slipstream, as I mentioned, will be in full effect. Where does Yanni Alexandrov defend? He defends the outside, and Tanasi is just forced to sit behind. So another lap awaiting, and he might even lose this DRS in Sector 2.
Yeah, he certainly could, and Yanni Alexandrov's tyres are really starting to fade away, and this really is not looking good for the Scuderia Ferrari driver. He's got Iron Tanasi all over the back of him, looking to try go for a lunge, left, right, and centre, and there goes Sandrov. He locks up the front right. That's allowed Tanasi. That's opened the door, and he. But there's contact. They've somehow not both gone spearing off into the wall. And Tanasi now around the outside for Yunsao. It's a brilliant move from the V-Carb, but he's not going to have DRS down that main straight. He's missed a detection point. This doesn't only put him under pressure from Zandrov, but also Zanase and Mouchoir as well. Here comes Dark Zanase to the right-hand outside line. He gets past a pair of them down the straight with that battery. Here comes Mouchoir as well. He might do the same, just trying to follow through the Alpine. Zandrov squeezes him. He unfortunately has to cut across the chicane, and Sandrov now going wide, falling down the order here in Brazil. He's falling behind his teammate. Mouchoir must have picked up an illegal overtake. Tanasi back up into 5th place now behind Dark Zanase. He's already dropped a second back from the Alpine in front, but Dawasa now under loads of pressure from Christophe Godor and also Sandrov as well. Sandrov, of course, as we've seen earlier in the season, not afraid to get his elbows out with his teammate, and luckily for Sandrov, as there's Mouchoir to the inside, and there's contact. Mouchoir missing part of his front wing, and unfortunately for the Kick Sauber, he went for a risky send there into the corner, and it's ended up with the most severe of consequences, with some damage and also falling down to 12th place.
Yeah, it's a mistake we've seen very often from Mouchoir this season, where he's just gotten a little bit too carried away, and now he's dropped down the field. DRS will be available to him, but if he comes into the pits, he will drop way off this field. David Martinez moving past Ariane Sang. The top 3 are establishing themselves as they did in qualifying once again in the race, and Villegas and Martinez, the 2 Spaniards, are 1 and 2 at the moment. But yeah, Chrisou coming into the pits. Mouchoir with that little bit of wing damage, that could be a killer for his race, and now he drops down to P13 behind Timon Voss and Giovanni Baruzza as well they head through sector number 1. So not the Kick Sauber's day. And not the Kick Sauber season. He's going to want to get up, go again for season 20. And, well, most of these drivers will be hoping to do exactly the same. They've given off a good show this season so far. And with just 27 laps of the season remaining, we could be seeing some more fireworks as we have throughout this season. But at the moment, it's the top 3 who have a monopoly over the rest of the field. They have a domination over the top 3 positions, over the podium spots, and you don't feel as though it's going to change anytime soon. Their pace was evident in qualifying, and in the race, it's just been further exemplified.
Yeah, it certainly has. It's also been helped by Sandrov's tyre drop-off. And now here comes for Martinez and also Sanger on Pau Villegas. And there we go, up into the top 2 are the Aston Martin and the Haas. There's Jake Dawasa past Iron Tanasi, but he goes deep into the corner. He's actually picked up some front wing damage as the Mercedes driver. Tanasi nearly got the good old switcheroo down out of turn 2, and there goes Sanger on Martinez to move up into P1 once again. Tanasi back past Dawasa as we head down into the Sino de Largo once more, and for David Martinez dropping behind Ariane Sanger, he's not going to be too worried about that. He can now tuck into the slipstream, save some battery, and passing with the DRS down that main straight once more. Tanasi and Dawasa's squabble is dropping them off the back of Dark Zanase, who's got a 2.1 second buffer now to the V-car behind, but with Dawasa's front wing damage, he's got to struggle through this middle sector, and you can see how aggressive he's having to defend from Christophe Godor behind, with the prancing horse galloping all over the back of this Silver Arrows, and we see into Yinsao there. We see Dawasa just going a little bit wide from the apex. This is going to give Godor the run. He's using that battery. He's trying to get by the Mercedes at the earliest of conveniences. He doesn't want to lose too much time to the car in front. Martinez and Sanger swapping places. And here comes Pau Villegas as well to the outside. Not able to get the move done. Dewasa into the pit lane to change that front wing. There's a slide from Ariane Sanger. And this could now allow Pau Villegas to pounce on that opportunity. You can see Sanger derating in front. He's into none. Is Villegas going to get close enough? No, he is not. And he'll have to just sit behind once more. But Martinez back up into the race lead. We're on lap 11 of 36. And Darks and Ace is still not catching up to that top three. 10-lap-old mediums for him. He'll surely come into the pit lane within the next 5 or 6 laps.
Yeah, I mean, the gamble has taken him up the field. It's taken him all the way up from 13th on the grid all the way up to 4th. So it's been a pretty successful gamble, although if you think about it, he's only moved up 8 places. Only 8 places. As Jake Dawser came into the pits. But, I mean, 1.2 second gap between himself and the top few. With a few laps to go on these mediums, I think they're going to start to die off, though. But it is absolutely imperative for the Alpine's podium chances, I would argue, if he's able to get up there and to get into the battle for the race lead. 1.4 seconds behind. He lost 2/10 in that final sector because of that DRS, and I think that's just going to become a theme as Dinilescu moves past Alexandrov. Alexandrov still sticking out there on those softs. They must be absolutely destroyed by now. He's 1.3 seconds off Christoph Godor himself and Dinilescu, that is. So the Ferrari man, it's just not been his day. The gamble didn't quite pay off. I think he was hoping for an early safety car. But at the moment, that is looking unlikely unless something happens in the next couple of laps, in which case he's probably still missed his window. David Martinez, though, continuing to lead this one. And, well, not for very long, I don't think, as he has a bit of a kick. I don't know if there was contact there between himself and Sanger, but he stays ahead. Villegas now trying to look to the inside, but he stays there. But Martinez, a rare mistake has just been drawn out.
Yeah, sorry about that big O over you there, Cockers. But yeah, I think it was actually a little tap from Ariane Sanger behind, who was battling quite aggressively with Pau Villegas, and that's really brought Darks and Ace back into contention here. He's just, I think, got within DRS range. Yes, he has. So he can now hook on to the back of this train. But that's really nearly ended up in disaster for David Martinez. Sanger back into the race lead now. Darts and Ace has dropped off ever so slightly from that top three, not having the same amount of batteries. He's not able to save it within the DRS. It'll be now down the retro poster we go. Is Martinez going to return the favour on Ariane Sanger? He's getting closer and closer, just nearly goes into the back of the Haas driver, but able to stay behind for now. Another slide on the exit of the Sina de Largo there, sorry, for David Martinez. But Ariane Sanger leading the way now. It's going to be these top three swapping places all the time throughout this one, as Sanger a little bit deep into turn 8. And this, once again, in this middle sector is where Darks and Ace is able to gain on these three drivers in front, just congesting into some of the corners, especially the likes of this corner here, Pico Tapato, into turn 10. But just at the moment, not enough to get within DRS range. But he really is starting to loom large and really starting to threaten to break that gap down. But for Darks and Ace, it is all going to be about just keeping hold of those medium tyres. He's not going to be worrying too much about the top three. He's just want to try get back within that DRS, try save that battery and save those tyres and come into the pit lane before, of course, those hard runners, but get a good undercut to make sure he's in front by the time the top three in front of him do come into the pits.
And Darks and Ace is in a great position here. I don't think he was looking as good as he is if it wasn't for that little moment from David Martinez as Ariane Sanger moves up into the lead of the race. And if they keep tripping over each other, this will allow the Alpine the strategic advantage. And you'd think it's only these top four with Ironut Tanasi 2.4 seconds off of them now. That's a big gap in this sort of race, as not sure what's happened there. Two Mouchouars dropped down the field behind Barutza, McTeer and Danko. So the Kick Sauber's day just goes from bad to worse, and now his fight for points is pretty much extinguished, unless he can do something special here. Looking back up, though, at the race lead as they're about to come out onto the DRS zone for the 14th time in this race, for the 28th time if you're counting the second area of the track, as Redmus picks up 3 seconds. He joins a club currently holding Mouchoir and Robert Dinilescu. They are rare, but they will keep drip feeding them in as Martinez looks to the inside of turn number 1, makes that move, and the Aston Martin back up into the lead of the race. It's the sole Aston Martin now, with David Siki retiring from the session. and, well, he's the only one in this top 3 field without a teammate in this race, unless you would count Chrisu being down in P15 as being out of the race. The highest of these teams is Danko, and the highest of this group is Ariane Sanger, as he moves back up into the lead of this race.
Yeah, nicely done there from Ariane Sanger to move himself back up into that race lead. David Martinez, again, still closely following behind as Daniel McTeer, the first driver to move off the hard compounded tyres and now onto the mediums. And that is going to be a very, very risky strategy indeed. Of course, he'll be on less fuel, so there'll be a little bit less wear than what the other drivers like Darks and Ace and Christophe Godor are experiencing at the moment. But still, 18 laps. Sorry, not 18. Yeah, about 18 laps on those medium tyres is going to be a very, very big ask. So, as we now see Ariane Sanger leading the way as they've got Darks and Ace, this top 3, just for company further back. Iron Nuts and Ace is 2.3 seconds further back and is really struggling to make an impact on that top 4's charge. As there's David Martinez to the inside once again into turn 1, able to get the move done before we hit the brakes. And what a stint, may I add here, Cockcaz. Yanni Alexandrov, as Robert Danilescu's retired in the pit lane, unfortunately for him. But for Yanni Alexandrov, 14 laps on the soft compounded tyres to be able to switch over to the mediums. Really good stint there from the Scuderia Ferrari driver. And to be able to hold on that long and not get a puncture and to maybe make this strategy a very viable one, it certainly is. Big props to him, and he's got to come out just behind Redmere, you'll think, as he now exits out the pit lane. No, it's going to be just behind Jake DeWasser, maybe as Chrisu is now on the right-hand side, getting the overtake done with the DRS. But there you see Yannick Alexandrov on those fresher medium compounded tyres, still trying to fight this one, but it's the slots in behind, but a really good opening stint there from the Ferrari.
Yeah, very, very good. Very, very impressive from him. I know I've had a few spats with him over the course of the season with particularly his racecraft, but you cannot deny that he's had an incredible race so far here in Brazil to make those softs last that long and to switch over to the mediums. David Martinez switching back into the lead of the race. The top 3 just trading positions as now they're going to have to start to think about the pit strategy, but particularly Darks and Ace is going to have to start thinking about it. They do last the hards and the mediums a pretty similar amount of time. So it will be interesting to see who and when the trigger is pulled. Giovanni Baruzza switches off of the hards onto the mediums. At the same time, Mouchoir switches off the mediums onto the hard compound of tyre. So it's a very much crossover period right now for the drivers. And so they will be thinking about it. They will be discussing it with their engineers just to see where and when they come into the pits. I'm sure we're going to get a gamble from one of these top 4 into the pit lane this lap, just trying to undercut. Undercutting does give you an advantage, as most of the time on this game it will bring you out in front of the car that was ahead. But we'll have to wait and see as now they head down the pit straight. Who pulls the trigger first? Is it going to be one of these drivers on this lap? As Ariane Sanger almost brake checks Pau Villegas. It is going to be none of them. However, they could be going 3 wide. Pau Villegas just backing out of it, and Sanger back into the lead of the race. We'll have to wait another lap for one of the top 4 to come into the pits. But I'm sure that an undercut will be attempted soon.
Yeah, it certainly will be, as we now, of course, see that top 3 heading down into the Sena de Largo once more. Lap 18 of 36, we're just about to reach halfway distance. And yeah, I'd expect one of these hard runners, especially maybe the likes of Pau Villegas, to come into the pit lane ever so shortly and try that undercut attempt. But it could also be very risky at the same time. Not having that DRS down the main straight can really hinder your chances of a undercut possibility. So, for Pau Villegas, heading into the Pico de Pato once again as we then head into turn 11, which then leads you down the hill and as you rise back up into Yunsao. Very difficult to point out your braking point each lap for Yunsao, because of course it is uphill braking with no real meter boards or any real places to have a reference to hit those brakes. But we're seeing now David Martinez, Pau Villegas and Darks and Ace all into the pit lane. Look at Darks and Ace, that's an opportunistic lunge. Oh, that would have been beautiful if he was able to pull that one off. That would have been one of the overtakes of the season if he was able to stop on the brakes. But Ariane Sanger stays out for another lap. Martinez and Villegas in. We're now going to see who is going to come out on top in this strategy battle? Will it be Sanger, who we know to go long for quite a while in these races and still win the Grand Prix as they come out the pit lane now? Martinez and Villegas, are they going to come out in front of Ironat Tanasi? Yes, they will by quite a margin. But now the hunt is on for Ariane Sanger. That gap as they exit the pit lane, it is going to be around about 20.4 seconds. That's what they need to bring down to at least, I would say, 18 seconds by the time Sanger comes into the pit lane. So that all eyes now to the man leading the way. Is he going to come in this time around?
You would think that he has to be considering it because, I mean, he won't want to lose that much time from the undercutters. Ironat Tanasi picks up 3 seconds worth of penalties, and that really has cost his battle for the race lead. Switching back up though, looking at Ariane Sanger, he is indeed coming into the pits. Lap 19 of 36 of this race, just over the halfway mark, and in comes Ariane Sanger. Where is he going to come out in relation to the battling front few as Darks and Ace has dropped DRS once again? Martinez and Villegas just on the faster compounder tyre at the moment. Yeah, there we go. Ariane Sanger has switched onto those mediums. Where does he come out? As now we have a look. Pau Villegas and David Martinez, they're heading out of turn number 1, but don't forget Ariane Sanger is able to run at full speed for a very long time down this pit lane, but it is not enough. He is going to come out maybe alongside Dogs and Ace, maybe ahead, and he's just staying in that DRS of Villegas and Martinez, and at the end of the race, that 1 lap advantage could bring a hell of a lot more success.
It certainly could. This is now a key stage of the Grand Prix. Try get back within that DRS range, but also try and you get within that and try and use that 1 lap fresher tyre advantage at the end of the Grand Prix to really propel your chances of a race victory. Danko is the only driver to have stayed out so far in this Grand Prix, the only driver not to make his mandatory pit stop. Will he make it this time around? Of course, picked up a 3-second time penalty a few laps ago, and we see now, yes, the Haas driver does come into the pit lane after 20 laps on those hard compounded tyres and gets it all stopped up nicely. By the time he gets into the pits, Pau Villegas able to get past David Martinez. What these two drivers can do now is they can help each other. They can swap places back and forth each lap and just keep Ariane Sanger at arm's reach away from that DRS window. So as Martinez is all over the back of Pau Villegas once more, as 3 tenths the gap as we head down the Retro Posta into the Sena de Lago, and he's just going to sit behind once again. But this is where the two Spaniards can really work together to keep Sanger behind, and it's a key stage of the Grand Prix, because if they're able to do that, we'll certainly have a 2-horse race for this race victory. But Ariane Sanger is still looming large and bringing that gap down at every given opportunity.
Yeah, I think it depends on how hard Dogs and Ace fights with Ariane Sanger for that 3rd place. As there's a big slide from Pau Villegas, through goes David Martinez, and that will give the DRS back to Ariane Sanger. We saw a mistake from Martinez bring Dogs and Ace back into it. Villegas this time with the mistake. Here comes Ariane Sanger now. DRS is available. 8 tenths is what he is in. Don't know if he was playing DRS games there, Pau Villegas, but whatever he was doing, he is back into that DRS and he is back into that race lead. Sanger drops out of the DRS. He's right on the cusp, and with the pace that he was demonstrating over the last couple of laps, you'd think that that is it now. He is back into this fight. A small mistake from Pau Villegas could have huge consequences for this battle.
That certainly could have huge consequences, as here comes Ariane Sanger now in that DRS range. And here comes Yanni Alexandrov passing Chris Yu, and Jake DeWasser also looming large in the mirrors. He's not going to go for the move, though, on Chris Yu. That's a surprising turn of events for the Mercedes driver. We now head through turn 5, but further up, Ariane Sanger now bringing that gap down to 6 tenths. He's bringing Darks and Ace along with him, and Koch, as this is where Darks and Ace can use those hard tyres maybe later on in the stint to pounce on that top 3 in front if he's able to stick with Sanger. But Pau Villegas and David Martinez now with a handful behind them, as they've got to try and keep at bay the Haas driver of Ariane Sanger. So up the hill we will go for the 22nd time in this Grand Prix. It'll be DRS open for Martinez, DRS open for Sanger, who's really caught up to the back of him over the course of this lap. As here we see, there goes Martinez on Villegas. Here comes Sanger now on Villegas as well. He sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix while doing so. He moves up to 2nd place, and now, as we head down the Retro Posta, might be able to take the race lead.
He could indeed. We could be seeing the Haas who was almost out of this race, 1.2 seconds behind. We could be seeing him into the race lead. Indeed we are, as he sends his way through into Cedar del Lago, and the Haas man, the champion, is now in the race lead. David Martinez sitting behind in second place, and the two Spaniards and the Frenchman behind them in Darks and Ace. They've got a lot of work to do, because Sanger, he was quickest in qualifying. He's been quickest across this entire season, and he, so far, is the quickest in this race. We'll see, as we're now on lap 23 of 36. 13 laps of racing to go. We'll see how the DRS games come into play. Maybe Sanger backs off, gives Martinez the DRS. Maybe Villegas made that mistake on purpose. We are yet to find that out. But Sanger continues to lead this one now. He led it for a lap. He led it for quite a significant chunk of the race at the start. He could be losing it once again. Martinez pulling close, but not close enough to make a move. And Sanger continuing to lead.
Yeah, Ariane Sanger still leading the way. This really now boils down to those final few laps of this Grand Prix. Pau Villegas needs to be able to stick with that top two in front, which he does seem to be doing, as David Martinez able to get past Ariane Sanger into the Cino de Lago and went really deep into the corner as well. Lucky to keep the car on the road and for Sanger not to just swoop down the inside once more. Tom and Voss able to get past Chrisu. Yanni Alexandrov might be going for a move there on Jake Dewasser. He actually does get the move done on Jake Dewasser, as here we go. The Mercedes driver still trying to fight back as we head up the hill into turns 6 and 7. Not able to get the move done though is the Mercedes, but that top four scrap in front of us is going to keep getting better and better as the laps tick by, and Darks and Ace will be getting quicker and quicker compared to that top three. Of course, he's on 5-lap old hards. By the time this race finishes, he will be on tyres that aren't as worn as those medium tyres, and he might be able to start to progress up this top three slightly, so the podium is still on the cards for the Alpine, as we can see Ariane Sanger just tucking in behind, heading down the main straight behind David Martinez, and now trying to get the run out of the center S's, and it's a really good launch off the center S's for the Haas driver. The DRS is open, he's pulling to that inside line. It's a brilliant move from Ariane Sanger. Really played his cards well there, and David Martinez falls back down into second place. Of course, Ariane Sanger looking to be the only double winner this season, and also looking to pick up his 5th race win of the season. Of course, if David Martinez wins here this evening, or even Darks and Ace, they will be the 2 other repeat winners of the season. And for Darks and Ace, he's looking to keep his podium streak alive. He got a 3rd in China, 1st in Canada, 2nd in Austria. And of course, when we head, here in Brazil, he wants to make it a 100% record of 4 races starts, 4 podiums, and he could potentially still get 4th in the standings, maybe even 3rd if he wins this Grand Prix. So for somebody that's only done 5 races, Darks and Ace certainly could have been in the position of winning this championship, Kotkas, if he started from the beginning of the season.
Absolutely, and I think he's advertised himself very, very well for a seat, as that is going to be a virtual safety car. Dallin McTeer, his afternoon gets worse, and now he has no front wing. In Sector 2, Yanni Alexandrov taking the opportunity to dive into the pits. You would imagine he's going to do another long stint on those softs. And Barutza and Redmers in as well. There is mediums in the McLaren pit wall. There is softs on Yanni Alexandrov. What is Mouchoir going to do? No, not Mouchoir. Redmers even, as he is in the pits. He's also onto the mediums. So they're going to take 10 laps at the end of this race on the mediums, or in Yanni Alexandrov's case, the softs. They haven't lost too much time because of the virtual safety car, but obviously pitting is going to lose you time naturally, and they are down in 12th, 13th and 14th. They are taking that gamble as McTeer retires in the pit lane. That is his season over, as we are still under virtual safety car conditions. But the bottom 3 in this field taking a gamble, hoping that maybe there's a safety car at the end of this race. Maybe there's an incident further up that means that they can pick up points, and then they can just do hot laps for the rest of the evening. Still under virtual safety car conditions here, and it stabilises the battle at the top. Darks and Ace, though, he looks as though he's closed in on Pau Villegas, because he was knocking around that 6th, 7th, 7th, 10th gap. It's now coming down to 3 or 4 as we get back to green flag racing. Everybody stays penalty free. Nobody speeds under safety car conditions. And then Sanger is able to continue to lead. The DRS, though, is available for David Martinez and Pau Villegas as well behind, and they continue to try to close that gap.
Yeah, they do, as Arya and Sanger, of course, taking a little bit of a defensive line into turns 6 and 7. Of course, very tricky corners to get right. If you're able to pick them off right, turn 8 becomes a breeze, and so does turn 9 as well. Difficult to pick up the traction here through turn 9. Even in the dries, it's a little bit off camber, so it's easy to slide the rear of the car out. Same with the Pico de Pato as you climb over the crest. And for Pau Villegas, he is starting to struggle a little bit with some rear sliding, but that has helped this top 3 keep those medium tyres cool and in good shape for what should be the rest of this Grand Prix. So we'll see now, heading up the hill into turn 1. It'll be DRS open for Martinez, for Villegas. Will they go for the move on Sanger? Here comes David Martinez. No, he's just going to do what Sanger did a few laps ago. Just sit behind through turn 1, make sure and focuses on the run through the second part of Center S's. He does get a nice launch off the corner. He's going to use that battery, use the DRS to pull to the inside when he gets close enough to Ariane Sanger. No, actually elects to not go for the move on Ariane Sanger. Knows the numbers game. There's a yellow flag in Sector 1. That's for the other Haas of Danko. Actually, he's now just slotted in front of Mouchoir. But for David Martinez, he's playing the long game. He's looking at an opportunity. He's trying to read Ariane Sanger, seeing where he's strong, seeing where he's not, as Redmir retires in the pit lane for a 4th retirement of the race. And yeah, for David Martinez, he's just trying to work out Ariane Sanger to see where his strengths and weaknesses are. And then when we get to those final few laps, he'll pounce on that and try and win this Grand Prix.
I think they're all going to be thinking about that sort of thing. I've said it before many times in recent races. Second place is the ideal spot in a track like this. And, well, David Martinez won't want to relinquish it. He might have to, though, as he heads for the race lead round the outside. Sanger is going to go nice and slowly just to give Martinez back into the lead. And Sanger just staying behind, just waiting. And they are all going to be watching and awaiting. Chris, who makes a move with that DRS into P8. He's had a pretty decent race from the back of the field. David Martinez drops back past Ariane Sanger. There's yellow flags out, as I believe that was Redmer's retired car that they were getting past. And interesting. It'll be interesting to see, actually, because I think that should have been an illegal overtake for Ariane Sanger. But nonetheless, he's able to make his way past. He's back into P1. Mouchoir fights for the points. He's up ahead of Danko and into the final points position. Interesting to see, though, the top 4 penalty-free. Ironut, Tanasi, Godor, Mouchoir, Danko and Giovanni Baruzza all have penalties. That is 5 of your 13-car grid. The other 8 do not have penalties as it stands, so they are doing a very good job to keep it on the circuit on one side of the white lines. And, well, that's step 1. Step 2 is being nice and quick. And all of these drivers at the moment, especially the top 4, are demonstrating that Dux and Ace. Now, gap between himself and Ironut Tanasi, 5.6 seconds. And these 4 have just been streets ahead for the entire race.
Yeah, they certainly have. They've just been streaking further and further clear. And look at this again. David Martinez just going to sit behind Ariane Sanger. And the Haas driver just having to keep looking in his mirrors. But Martinez, at the minute, not going to go for any unnecessary moves. He knows he could just sit behind Sanger, make Sanger work that battery and those tyres, and really have to try push on in that clear air. But he's not able to do so just yet. But David Martinez does need to look out from Pau Villegas and Darks and Ace behind. Of course, Villegas going to be looking to pick up his first race win of the season. Everybody else looking to pick up their 2nd or 5th of the season if your name's Ariane Sanger. And what a champion he has been. Of course, only off the podium once this season, and that was still in the points. It's the lowest finish of 7th. He's not finished 3rd so far this season either. It was a 1st in Singapore, followed by 2nd in Silverstone, and the 1st in Netherlands and Hungary. Then didn't attend China, then a 7th in Canada. Win last time out to crown him champion in Austria, and here in Brazil. Of course, now it's all going to be about trying to make it another back-to-back victory and the 5th victory of his season. Chris Yu able to get past Jake Dewassa, Mouchoir able to get past Danko to finally break into the points. But further up, once again, Martinez not going for the move. He really is playing the numbers game here, Kotkaz, but he still needs to look out from the threats of Villegas behind, because all Villegas has to do is catch and nap him, and he can move up to 2nd place.
Exactly. I mean, at this point, it is very, very touch and go. One mistake. We saw Devin Martinez lose the race lead earlier on because of a mistake. We saw Pau Villegas lose the race lead because of a mistake. It could be Ariane Sanger's turn to have a wobble at some point in this race, and there comes a mistake. It's almost as if I predicted it, and that means Devin Martinez will get the run as they head down to turn number 1. The DRS is open for him, for Ducks and Ace as well, whose hard compound tyres will be activated, and they will be almost quicker than the mediums at this point. He's been blocked out by Pau Villegas, who's going to go for a move on Ariane Sanger. Down the inside goes the Williams. He's up into P2. Dogs and Ace tries to go around the outside, but hooks himself onto the wheelbase of Ariane Sanger, and so decides to back out of that move. But these top 4, they're really starting to get the elbows out now.
Yeah, they really are, and Ariane Sanger dropping 2 places in the first 2 corners, and Ace nearly was able to capitalise as well. But of course, now with 5.5 laps to go, these drivers know it is starting to become crunch time in this Grand Prix. You need to be in the optimum position, usually second place on that run to the line, if you want to try and win this Grand Prix. But we still have another few laps to decide the order, heading on to the final lap. So for David Martinez, he's just going to try push on. He knows Villegas is a little bit weak through that first sector, maybe running a little bit of a lower downforce setup for the straights, but Ariane Sanger all over the back of the Williams driver. The Haas got to look to try and make a move and try get some revenge down into turn 1. He's tucked into that slipstream nicely. They're catching up to the back of the Aston Martin. Sanger the move, or is he? Side. He's gone very late on the brakes. They've all gone late on the brakes, and David Martinez just able to hold on around the outside. Sanger with an opportunistic lunge to the inside, and here he comes once again down a retro poster. Pau Villegas blocks in David Martinez. Sanger not only gets 1, but he might get 2 of them into the Sena de Largo. But no, Sanger just having to swap behind the Williams driver, and Zenace is looking at this saying, I can make an opportunity out of this. I just need one driver to go a little bit wide. I'll pick you off one by one, and I'll pick up on the scraps as Mouchoir battles Danko and is able to get back by for 10th place. But it's all kicking off at the front of the field. When we cross the line, it's 3 laps to go, and Pau Villegas at the moment in prime position for this race victory, but Ariane Sanger still looming large in the mirrors.
Yeah, I think actually I'd rather be in this situation. Ariane Sanger sitting behind Pau Villegas, fully RS tank to my disposal, and with DRS also at my disposal. So I think it is time now for them to think about it. And it's time now for Docs and Ace to think about a move. As there's contact, there's the 2 of the drivers in contention for this race victory have just pelted into the pit wall. And they've both retired from this session. Docs and Ace, David Martinez. Docs and Ace is actually levitating in the middle of the track. And David Martinez, he's nowhere to be seen. But lap 34, a lap of 36 laps in this race. And Dogs and Ace and David Martinez, all the hard work they've done has just been unravelled.
Oh my God. Dogs and Ace and Martinez, when they just had to keep it clean and just follow the 2 in front, they've come to blows, and it's absolute calamity throughout the field. And unfortunately for Darks and Ace, he's not able to keep up. He's 100% podium streaking for Martinez. He's not able to try and get that back-to-back race victory. So we have a straight shootout here this evening for this race victory. Pau Villegas versus Ariane Sanger, the driver looking to make it his 5th race win of the season, looking for a second back-to-back victory of the season. He's fighting against Pau Villegas, a driver looking for his first race victory of the season, and to end his season and start next season off with a bang. So, as we have 2 laps to go here, it's all going to kick off here in Sao Paulo, and Pau Villegas in prime position if he's able to stick behind for that final lap to try and take his first race victory.
He indeed is. And, well, I mean, he's 2nd place onto the final lap of this race. He will be getting that DRS straight off of Ariane Sanger, and you'd imagine that they're both going to be fighting for it. It's going to look like that one Fernando Alonso move in Canada on Lewis Hamilton, where he just tried to almost brake check Hamilton in order to get that DRS. Hopefully Sanger doesn't play such games as Giovanni Baruzza retires in the pit lane. We've got 1 more lap of racing to go here in season 19, and we don't know who's going to come out on top for the final time. Is it the Spaniard Pau Villegas? Is it the champion, Ariane Sanger. We'll have to wait and see. DRS has gone Pau Villegas' way. He is 5/10 behind, though. And so the Williams, he's just sitting behind. Is he going to be able to break that gap down? They'll both be using all of their ERS tags on these two straights. Villegas to the inside line. Is he going to be able to make this move? Take the lead of the race? Yes, he is. That is Pau Villegas through. The Spaniard takes the race lead. But the DRS has been snatched back right to Ariane Sanger. It is advantage the Haas as he pulls to the inside line. Villegas pulling even more to the inside line to defend. Sanger tries to switch to the outside. Villegas covers that too. There's going to be one more overtaking zone unless he forces a move into here. Maybe not, as they both ghost. They're lagging all over the circuit for myself. But Pau Villegas and Ariane Sanger, just a few corners to go, just a sector and a half to go, and they cannot be separated. They haven't been able to be separated all race long. There was under a tenth between them in qualifying, and in the race, the closeness continued. Villegas still holding off Sanger. One more overtaking zone to go, and Villegas looks to hold on. The DRS, though, goes Sanger's way. There's quite a long stretch of DRS down the main straight, and that is a wobble from Villegas on the exit. Advantage Sanger. He's going to try to pull to the outside now. It's going to be a photo finish here in Season 19, and it's our champion, Ariane Sanger, coming out on top. Villegas just about misses out in P2, and Ayla Tanasi, he's been so quick all season. He picks up the third place, but a photo finish is an apt way to finish here in PC Tier 5 in Season 19. And after all that, it's our champion, Ariane Sanger, picking up yet another victory.
Wow, just wow. What a way to end the season. A photo finish at the death. So, for Pau Villegas, it's heartbreak for that first race victory of the season. He thought he had it. He thought he did it by the finest of margins, but Ariane Sanger snatching another win away from another driver and makes it 5 wins. He's won 50% of the races this season, has Ariane Sanger. That just shows how good he has been, and he's missed 3 of them. So it just shows that he's been so consistent, so strong this season that he's only finished off that top step twice. Just imagine what he could have done if he was attending all 10 races. We could be talking about a driver that has won 8 out of 10 races this season. He's absolutely classed the field, a deserving champion, and from the get-go looked like a threat for this championship, and he never looked back since. Ariane Sanger, take a bow, take the Season 19 championship, and good luck in Tier 4, my friend. But wow, just wow, Kotkaz, Ariane Sanger, 50% race victories this season. It's just absurd, especially in league racing.
I mean, especially in a tier like this, it's so incredibly close. And with some of the racecraft that we see, it could be anyone's race every single week in, week out. And for Ariane Sanger to come out on top so many times, and he was just so consistent at the top as well. It's not as if he would just come out of the blue and take that victory. He would be one of, if not the quickest driver every single race weekend that we competed, that he competed in as well. And a very, very deserving champion, Ariane Sanger. I mean, you say Tier 4. With the pace that he's had over this lot, I wouldn't be surprised if we see him any higher. But just to run you through Sanger's race results this season, his first race came in Singapore and he took a victory. And then we headed to Britain, and a runner-up spot ruined his 100% record. But from there, it was almost perfect. The Netherlands, he took victory. In Hungary, he took victory. In Austria, it was his 4th victory of the season. 7th in Canada, the only blemish on his record before a final race victory here in Brazil. And you got to say, fully deserved for Ariane Sanger this title. It looked to be the closest title battle in WOR in total, with the smallest gap between any of the PC tiers. But in the end, it never really looked in doubt.
Yeah, it just never looked in doubt for Ariane Sanger. It was just absolute brilliance from him from the second half of the season. And yeah, he's certainly a driver that you need to look out for next season in Tier 4. And he certainly could make an impact. And even you never know, he could get a back-to-back championship. It's not unheard of here in WR. It's happened on the console side. I think it's also happened on the PC side as well. But it's going to be a very, very interesting new season for WR. But season 19 has come to an end. But what a season it's been, Cock. Has been a pleasure to have it alongside alongside you in the combox. Sorry, but yeah, what a season it's been, and hopefully we have many more great races like that in the future.
I'm sure we will. I mean, all of these drivers, they might go their separate ways now because of the fact that they will get promoted, they will get relegated, they will stay in the same tier. But absolutely, it has been an honour to be alongside you for the majority of this season when one of us wasn't being stolen away to do Tier 2. But, I mean, of all the tiers to do, Tier 5 was a great one just because of the fact that we had so many drivers at the top at so many different points. And, well, it was just incredible racing from start to finish. Regardless of who you were, you could sense that a race victory was just around the corner for many of them. You'd think about the likes of Justin Chevalier. I mean, he raced 4 races. He won 1, and he didn't pick up any other points or indeed race finishes in the rest of them. Mouchoir racing the entire season, and he was P4. I believe he will be taking that P3 in the standings. And then you think of, for example, Ariane Sanger wasn't originally in the lineup. He came in second round of the season. Darksman Ace came in China, and this was the first time that he did not finish on the podium. This was the first time he didn't finish at all. David Martinez, I mean, his race, his season has been a bit random. Didn't finish first, 5th, and then obviously what we saw in this race. So different protagonists at different points. Really, really spiced it up, as well as some of the racecraft that we saw. And yeah, it's been a pleasure from me to you, Max, from me to all of the Tier 5 drivers and all of the Tier 5 viewers, engineers, everything. Everyone makes this league, regardless of the role that you play. Everyone makes a tier, regardless of the role that you play, whether you do one race or whether you do all of the races. But at the end of the day, it is all said and done. The chapter has closed. The season has finished. And we have firmly shut the book on season 19. At least here in the PC side. The console side has one more round to go. So make sure to join at least myself for that on Thursday and Friday, where we've got on Thursday the tiers from 3 down to, I believe we'll be having streams for tiers 3, 5. No, tiers 3, 4 and 6. And then on Friday, we will be having tiers 1 and 2 streamed as well. So even if the PC side is drawn to a close, there's still plenty of races that you can keep up with. But until next time, it is goodbye.